do you think that there can be a world that centers men that doesn't like demean women, especially? Hello, friends. We're back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kendrin.
What up? What up? It is Deja. How y'all doing?
And if you've never been here before, we talk a cross section of pop culture in real life. And today our topic is the Carlos King cinematic universe.
Down to the kingdom reign.
The kingdom reign. All right. So if you've never been here before, we do cover a lot of Carlos King programming on this channel, as well as we do reference his sit-down interviews quite a bit in our conversations. And I started thinking a little bit about what's happening in his universe, in the Kingdom Reign universe of programming. We were not recording when Love and Marriage Detroit came out, but I did have a few thoughts about that. So I wanted to get your take on it.
Girl, they don't need another season.
Well, you didn't like it. I didn't like it either, but it raised something in me. Like I had a reaction about it, which is more than I can say for Love and Marriage DC. I had no reaction. I did not care. I don't even think I finished it. I was just like, sure.
Yeah. Let's see, I like DC.
I was not into it. But it seems to me that Carlos King in his shows on OWN really do center the men a little bit more. Like it seems like the men have a lot more personality than the women. And I find that to be interesting, especially because we watch a lot of women dominant shows in the Housewives, in the Bravo universe. And it seems to me like Carlos King is doing something different in that these men have a voice. And even thinking about Housewives, the only group of men that get paid is actually New Jersey. And those men...
Really?
Yeah. So, and those men are like, I find them more they're more interesting than the women to me, honestly. When I look at the Jersey men, I'm like, okay, I might not like y'all that much, but like, or not all of y'all. Frank is my favorite, but like, I may not like all of y'all, but like, y'all have something going on. So I find that Carlos, and he has said as much on some of his reviews and stuff, that he really does like center the men, and he gets strong men to have conversations here.
I don't think I ever really noticed that, but now that you're making mention of it, having watched all three iterations of Love and Marriage, I don't feel like the DC men, you didn't really get a whole lot of like, outside of Big Jamie and Little Jamie going to therapy, it wasn't a whole lot of like manosphere conversations happening per se.
But I thought the men had definite personalities.
Well, yes, I'll agree with you on that. I think the Detroit folks was giving the girls.
Wait, say that again? What do you mean by that?
The men on that cast were definitely giving the women a run for their money as it relates to the conversations and the cattiness and the...
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Like they was one of the girls.
I venture to say that the men on Detroit were more interesting than the women on Detroit. I was more like, I learned the men's names and then I learned the wives' names. And that's how I like associated them. Like that's such and such's wife. I wasn't really like the women didn't really seem like they had a lot going on or a lot of, I don't know, anything.
It was giving boring.
Well, I didn't think it was boring. I thought it got a rise out of me. And the reason it got a rise out of me is because
what was the rise?
Well, it was because of the manosphere content. So like part of this feels like in platforming and like centering men, a lot of this is coming back to our like manosphere conversations. And literally Anthony has a man's movement, which like he explained as sort of like trying to like bet for betterment of men, and the way he explained it sounded good, but also like, but in practice it just seems like decentering like women and sort of, which I guess is fine, but it's just very like they were very heavy-handed with their women, even talking about Russell and
Very.
how he was very like, Colby, go sit down, like you're
It
over
was
here.
very 1955.
It wasn't, yeah. And like I think we kind of think about that with the South, and like we kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say excuse it, but we understand it more because that's like a very Southern way. But to see it so stark with the Detroit cast, it was like, oof, oof.
I don't know. If they bring the show back, I'll probably give them another chance, but I hope they bring somebody else on because the
Yeah.
doctor was not, she
The
wasn't
doctor
giving,
wasn't interesting to me.
not at all. And her
Um,
husband was really, I think, but you know what? It was the balance that we needed because her husband was on 5,000.
but that's what I'm saying. Like the men were the ones with the big personality in Detroit to me. The other two, they're influencers, which is fine, but it was like they were arguing over influencer checks. The rest of it was just
Yeah,
kind of like the
Patty
men
BS.
had the storyline. Um, and
Agreed.
so my next question is sort of, do you think that there can be a world that centers men that doesn't like demean women, especially Black women? And I think the same is true for like Love and Marriage Huntsville, which we talk about a lot here, where these men are like big personalities, but they really do demean their wives in the
Mm-hmm.
process.
So here's the unfortunate thing that I believe. I think
Mm-hmm.
that in these types of shows, I don't think that that is possible. I
Okay.
think that we're always going to get some sort of diminishing of the female counterparts,
Mm, I think so too.
because the men that are being displayed are pseudo alpha male. I run the
I
house.
wouldn't say
What
pseudo.
I
I think
say
they would all
goes.
identify as alpha men.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yes, they identify as that,
Yeah.
but I don't believe if you got to say that that's what you are, you're not.
I mean, also true.
And that's how I feel personally.
Mm-hmm.
You can be very alpha and never have to announce to the room that that's how you show up.
You know who is perfect example of that to me? Courtney,
Who is that?
Love and Marriage Huntsville, Stormy's husband.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna come back to Love and Marriage Huntsville, so we'll link that conversation here. But to me, Courtney is like, I don't have to put on. My wife makes a shit ton of money at this business that we're doing together. I don't have to
He
like,
like, I'm rich for real,
I'm
bitch.
rich. Basically, like I'm rich for real, and we're rich for real. Like I don't have to do all of this silly stuff that like the Marceaus of the world be doing. You know what I mean?
We're gonna get there. We are not
We
there
gonna get
yet.
there. We gonna get there, but we talking about the universe, so we gotta do that.
I don't think so. I think that it
Yeah.
would have to be a different type of um caliber of men.
Mm,
And what type of men and caliber that would be, I don't even know, child. I couldn't even begin to tell you.
yeah, I tend to agree with you.
I don't
I
even
will
have any
say,
examples, which is
yeah,
sad.
I will say one thing I do appreciate this sort of universe taking on. Um, Mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it now twice with father son and a father son dynamic. We've seen it with Jamie and Lil Jamie. We saw it now from Love and Marriage Huntsville with Chris and Chris Jr. Of really
What
taking
are
a
the
close,
odds? Big Chris and Little Chris,
Big
Big
Chris and
Jamie and
Lil.
Little Jamie.
I don't know if he calls himself Little Chris. I don't think
I don't
that's
think
not how
so,
they referred to him.
but
But so
that's
I
what
didn't
he
refer
is.
to him that way. But I will say, like, taking on depression, taking on and taking a close look at it. And even
Mm-hmm.
in Detroit, we saw, I think it was Christina and Brandon, they went to couples, at least a couples counseling sort of environment. So I think even, I mean, I don't know
Did
if it worked.
they? I thought it was
They
him and
did.
his mama.
Even still, I'm down for that too. No, they definitely did a couples therapy session, I think. And then also with his mom, I'm down for that too. Whatever it
Child,
takes to get people going to therapy as the
I'm down
therapy
for you to do it.
advocates over here. I am down for it. So I think that that is
Amen.
something positive that is coming out of these spaces. Let's just say
Yes,
that.
and making it okay for men to seek mental health
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Like having someone there to walk you through whatever your transgressions are.
Yeah.
Random aside though, when homeboy and his mama went to therapy and he was talking about being in the hood or in the ghetto or whatever, and she was like, well, how do you think I feel? I was a white woman in the hood. I'm sorry. That's stuck in my mind. That lady
Yeah.
was so irritated, and she is
She
of a
was so aggravated.
she is got to be in her 70s, and she was sitting there like, why the hell am I here?
Basically. And I was amused. I was tickled by that too, because it was like he wants this like very big family relationship, but she is governing herself as I'm sure some white people have very close-knit families, but the ones that I have met, it's not like our families, like our extended long
Mm-mm.
arm, bring everybody in sort of families. So it just
Mm-hmm.
cracked me up that she was just like, girl, I don't want that. I don't want to talk to you every day. I'm not interested. Like, we could talk once a week, maybe. I mean, that's as good as I can get for you. Like,
What I will say though that I have noticed over the last maybe 20 years and different
yeah.
friends that I've had is my friends that are biracial, being
Yes.
both black and white. There sometimes the white side of the family is more like that.
Mm.
And because of the, I mean, we're here in Virginia, so we
Yeah.
know what it is, right?
We know what it is.
But it's always like a story of the white mom got taken in by the baby daddy's family, and then so she just kind of assimilated in, but there is no connection with her own people, and maybe that
Yeah.
is more so what we were seeing between
Oh,
himself and his mom,
yeah,
you
it's
know.
possible. Definitely possible. Um, because we know, like, especially in the South, I mean, I don't know, they're in Detroit, but I don't know if the energy is still the same. A lot of times there's some disowning that happens.
Yeah,
Maybe less
I had
so
a lot of
now
friends like that.
than before, but there's definitely disowning with the grandparents and all the things. So,
Right.
and then the last thing I wanted to say about Carlos King and give him his flowers for, so to speak. Um, I appreciate that he's platforming a lot of giving people who aren't the most popular people, but who have made a cultural impact, like a voice in their impact. So, for instance, he had an interview with Royce, who is only on the first season of no Housewives, Basketball Wives.
No, she was on like the first two or three, and
Few.
then she
It
was
was like the
gone.
first
Yeah.
few, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like after that she kind of moved on or was
Disappeared.
removed, and she just disappeared, and we never really saw much more of Royce. Same for Latavia Robinson of the
I'm
original
watching that
Destiny's
tonight.
Child. I have not watched the Carlos King interview, but I did watch her on Terrell. Shout out to Terrell. Terrell is
Hello.
doing the work, honey. He is
Very
doing
much so.
the work. He is getting the people on as well. So we love a Terrell. I did watch her Terrell show interview and I was like in tears by the end. Same for Latoya Luckett. I was like in tears by the end of Latoya Luckett's video.
I've not seen her. I'm gonna have to
Terrell
watch
episode. He
the
did like
Terrell
a
ones.
whole week where he did Michelle Williams. He had done Michelle Williams earlier in the season. And then he did Latavia, then he did Latoya, and he finished with Kelly.
Child, now if by the magical gods above he gets Queen Bee, you ain't gonna be able to tell him nothing, honey.
Well, it's over now, so I don't think he got Queen Bee. But
Well, she was probably on tour when he was doing all that too.
yeah, I hope that he does one day. I love
Yeah,
Terrell. Terrell,
cracks me up.
he
I
is a
love watching him and Coco. Tea and Coco. Have
yeah.
you watched that? Okay.
Yeah. I've watched a few, but anyways, all
Random
that to
aside.
say, I do appreciate that Carlos, and I actually watched he did an interview with Scrappy that was really good, and I thought like. Yeah, I
I
watched the
missed
whole
that.
thing, and I'm not even like a Love and Hip Hop girly, but I watched the whole thing. I think it was two
I
parts,
like
and I watched both
Scrappy.
parts.
I ain't
So
gonna
it's
sit here and
like,
act like I don't. I genuinely like Scrappy. I think
yeah,
that
like
he has come a long way.
he has the people on his show, and I appreciate that what he's bringing to the space. It feels like there's a void that he is filling in the space, um,
Uh-huh.
from giving the men a bigger voice, also to for better or worse, also to like giving other less, I mean, I don't want to call other people who we have not heard from in a while a voice.
Celebs of yesteryear.
I didn't want to call them that. So I
I
was
mean,
trying to
this
stay away from that kind of
they
lane.
still got the celebrity moniker, you know. They just
Sure.
not relevant these days. They're
So
not doing
anyways,
anything that we know about that needs to
yeah.
be told, I guess.
So yeah, anyways, I was just noticing that pattern within the love and marriage universe, and I wanted to chat about it. So drop down in the comments. Let us know if you're watching Love and Marriage Huntsville. Did you watch Detroit? Did you watch DC? Let us
Mhm.
know what you thought. Is there a space for men in this realm of reality TV? Drop down in the comments. Let us know. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and we will talk to you next time.
Peace out, friends.